Greetings. My name is Alcott Scoffer, and I denounce Hollywood movies as if they weren't quite a pitiful sight already. And today, we will dissect the flaws of the crowd-pleasing Oscar nominee Green Book movie, which is a wonderful example of how one can screw up both ever-working cliches and complex historical topics in a single mediocre mix. If you got lucky enough not to watch this movie, let me introduce you to its plot. I'll make it short. A racist Italian-American Tony Lip gets hired by a snobbish African-American pianist Don Shirley to be his driver on his tour to the southern states in the middle of the 20th century. During their trip, racist Tony suddenly realizes that life is a bitch if you are a black man traveling in times of Jim Crow laws. While a snobbish Don finds out that it gets cold on the top of the world and that assholes supposedly die alone. Before the end of the story, racist and snob reconcile and form a friendship, apparently losing their hateful traits and getting back home right in time for Christmas dinner. What a twist. Oh, the number of questions I have for this movie.
Which movie? Which movie?
What are you doing here? You were supposed to be fired.
I don't think so, Mr. Scoffer, sir. I'm pretty sure you said you need an assistant when we met last time, and so I'm here to help you out.
Not paying him a single dime.
So, what is the name of the movie we're going to review today?
Let me tell you something, Mr. Foofle Poodle, to make things absolutely clear about how this show works.
It's Fully Lover, Mr. Scoffer, sir.
Couldn't care less. Now, listen very carefully. I am the producer, the director, and the host of Denouncing Hollywood. You are nothing but a puny assistant. My job is to make this show. Your job is to remain unheard and unseen while making yourself useful. As long as you intend to keep coming here and bother me with your presence on set.
Oh, this is so awesome! I love making myself useful.
Then go and make me a cup of green tea. Green tea is a great fit for Green Book review.
Green Book? I love that movie!
I bet you did. You see, my young, inexperienced friend, the creators of the movie did everything to make Green Book lovable. They took some important social issues, seemingly charismatic characters based on real people, a life-changing road trip, threw in some comic and tragic moments for the feels. But the fact is that this whole movie is irrational, crumpled, and filled with sugar-coated lies.
No, it isn't. It can't be. To see a friendship like this, between people that differ so much, is always exciting. And this movie describes so many important social issues. It can't be dismissed like this, with all due respect, Mr. Scoffer, sir.
The movie did have potential. I can agree with that. But it was wasted for nothing. Did you know that the movie was one-sided, basically told from the point of view of Tony Vallelonga's family? Don Shirley's side of the story was reimagined. The creators of the movie never got in touch with Don Shirley's relatives. One of the main issues with Don Shirley in Green Book was him losing connection, both with his people and his brother. But the truth is that Don and his brother, Maurice Shirley, got along just fine. After the movie, Maurice sent a letter to various media, explaining that his brother never felt himself distanced from the family, and, more than that, never considered Tony Lip a friend. Tony was nothing more than a driver he hired for a certain period of time. You see this whole based on the real story myth falling apart?
But the son of Tony Lip, Nick Vallelonga, who actually wrote the story about this friendship, said that he heard the story from Don Shirley and his father himself. So maybe Shirley's brother might be just a little bit angry about not being able to take part in telling the story?
Moving on. Even if we put aside the fact that the movie, inspired by a true friendship, is based on a bunch of lies and exaggerations. After all, it's not a documentary, right? And view it as a fictional story. There are plenty of inconsistencies and weak spots in the plot. An African American getting himself a gay one-night stand at a YMCA pool while traveling to the South in 1962? Yes, because who wouldn't want to double his chances to get severely harmed during a dangerous tour to unfriendly states?
Wait a minute! With all due respect, sir, I just did a research and, well, apparently there was a documentary, Lost Bohemia, where Don Shirley confirmed that he and Tony Vallelonga were friends! The audio with his voice was posted in the Deadline article on January 26, 2019. And though now there are only clips from Vallelonga's interview, you can still use Internet Archive's Wayback Machine to listen to Don Shirley proving his relatives wrong. Here comes the transcript.
I trusted him implicitly. You see, Tony got to be, not only was he my driver, and we never had an employer-employee relationship. You don't have time for that. My life is in this man's hands. Do you understand me? So you got to be friendly with one another.
Also, did you just mention the incident in YMCA, sir? It's not a weak spot in the plot. That actually happened. And it is also mentioned by Vallelonga in his interview.
Where did you find all this?
In the internet?
Give me that thing. It's against the rules to use smartphones in the studio.
Which rules? No one showed them to me before I came here, sir.
That's because before you came here, I didn't have to think of them. All of the above are just minor flaws in comparison with the fact that creators tried so hard to please everyone and sugarcoat everything that they didn't manage to show a believable friendship development between Don Shirley and Tony Lip.
It seemed quite believable to me.
I mean, they even made a completely unnecessary scene closer to the end of the movie with a cop that helps Tony detect a flat tire on their way back, just in order to feed us the not all cops are bad sentiment. Because earlier in the movie, they showed cops from Sundown Town who aren't the fairest guys in the movie.
Well, policemen are supposed to be good, ideally, so why not show them as such?
We didn't get to see the worst of Jim Crow laws because the genre of Green Book is a comedy. But what's the excuse for not carrying out the main topic of the movie appropriately? All these details, Lip getting impressed by Shirley's music talent, Shirley learning to appreciate Lip's ability talking people out of things, Lip teaching Shirley how to eat fried chicken, Don teaching Lip to write beautiful letters, blah blah blah. It all appeared and went too quick. The audience doesn't get a chance to see how the characters are influenced, how the new knowledge about each other sinks in. The moments that should be depicted brighter are dull.
Sir, I agree that some moments of the development of Tony's and Don's friendship could be extended or made brighter. And maybe the creators did try to balance everything a little bit too much.
Exactly. They tried not to go into extremes in any way, which made everything about the movie mediocre enough to not annoy the majority of the not-so-demanding audience too much. Typical crowd pleaser that played the white savior trope card too much for its own good. Therefore, I say that Green Book has been denounced.
But sir, didn't you mostly speak of minor details all this time? And is it really a bad thing that the creators didn't go to extremes and balance the funny and sad things in the movie? I think it makes the movie more similar to real life. And the fast pace of the events in the movie allows us to get the feeling of the road trip. There are many adventures and many dangers. And speaking of dangers, Tony and Don help each other out all the time, so I wouldn't say that it was all about white savior trope. Besides, Don did hire Tony to be both his driver and bodyguard, didn't he? I think that it's too harsh to denounce the movie for minor details when in general it's a great movie about a great friendship. And that's exactly what helped the Green Book win an Oscar.
Are you done?
Yes, sir.
Would you be so kind to remind me who is the host and who is an assistant here?
You are the host, and I am the assistant, Mr. Scoffer, sir.
Who is supposed to be doing the reviews?
You, sir.
And what were you supposed to do?
Bring you a cup of green tea?
Where is it?
On my way to get it, sir!
Maybe I should change the locks in this studio.
Roar!